Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Behind the Reel podcast. I'm your host, John, and today we've got a special guest, a fellow Kansan here that did very well in a national event, the TBF National Championship. We have Hunter Baird on to talk about that event tonight, and we'll kind of get into, the opportunities that are out there for all of you local guys, and for the collegiate anglers. There's so many opportunities out there. If you want to explore fishing at a professional level, there's so many options out there, and really cool to see somebody that is from right here in Kansas kind of make his way up through the ranks. We'll talk about it, but we talked a little bit here before we went live. And it sounds like Hunter has been fishing at the club level since he was a very small kid. And so a lot of you guys that are going to be watching tonight probably have some stories and have some experiences sharing the boat with Hunter as well. So you guys are more than welcome to chime in, ask any questions. If you have some experiences maybe that you want to bring up, we can definitely get to those tonight. So make sure you put those over there in the live comment section. If you have any questions, we will get to those just as quickly as we can. Hunter is going to be able to come on here live here in just a minute. We're going to give him a few minutes to kind of get settled in. Sounds like he was on the water today, and he was able to put some fish in the boat. It sounds like maybe they were doing some practicing, and he is just kind of getting settled in for the evening. And so we're going to give everybody an opportunity to get in here. And if you could do me a favor, we just hit 2,400 subscribers. So that's kind of a cool milestone for us. 2,500 just around the corner. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already, we do a weekly podcast right here. And not only do we touch on kayak fishing, which is kind of where this thing started, but me working at Russell Marine Products, very involved in the fishing community. We will bring people on from all different walks of life, all different styles of fishing, tournament fishing, YouTube guys, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and do me a favor, share this in a local group that you guys maybe participate in. Share this with a friend. If you know somebody that might be interested in collegiate fishing, might know Hunter himself, maybe fish this event, go ahead and share this video for me. I see you guys already over there in the comment section. Appreciate you. And we will get this thing kicked off here in just a minute. I'm going to place you guys on mute for just a second. My daughter did just get injured, and I'm hoping we don't have to do this another day. So I'm gonna place you guys on a quick hold. I'll be right back. We're going to be good. Leland wants to say hi. Say hi, Leland.
Hi.
All right. Now, I did want to also make an announcement here. We have the Swim Bait Universe gathering going on down at Lake Fork. I will be actually making that trek down there. If you guys are fellow swim bait anglers, that is something that you definitely need to check out. This is the first one that they've ever had down there in Texas. Again, it's going to be right there on Lake Fork. Looking forward to that one. We have a local company here that is also involved in the swim bait community. And what I'm going to do today, if you guys want to have an opportunity at winning some big baits, this is the Clutch Temptation Tackle Big Softy. And this is a 2-pack. You're going to rig this on a 10-aught hook. And this is probably going to be a really good time to throw this bait while they are in that pre-spawn and spawn mood. So if you guys are looking to maybe get into big baits for the first time, do me a favor and comment over there in the comment section below, or over there on the side rather. And I want you to comment Big Softy. Okay, Big Softy, and that will enter you into a chance to win these baits. So one lucky winner is going to win these baits here tonight. And I want to give a shout out to Temptation Tackle and Clutch Swim Baits for donating these. And here, I'm going to show you guys a link here in just a second. So if you guys want to go get you some, you will be able to do so. Just go over to temptationtackle.com. There we go. And you should see that on your screen now. Some of you guys may be listening after the fact, but for those of you that can see my screen, you're going to go to temptationtackle.com, get you some Clutch Big Softies. They've got several different colors to choose from. They've got the bone. They've got the smoked shad. They all look really good. And they've got the pearl white, and that's what these are going to be. These are going to be the pearl white. So this is the 6.5 inch pack here. So shout out again, Clutch Swim Baits, Temptation Tackle. Now, the other cleaning house announcement I would like to make, we'll revisit this here later just for those of you guys that are coming in later on. Big Softy over there in the comments to enter in for a chance. So the other thing, for all of my kayak guys, for all of my Bass Nation, Kansas Bass Nation guys, we have an opportunity to fish a high stakes tournament in the kayak world. That is something that we really haven't seen here in Kansas. And it's a $100 entry fee if you guys are looking to fish a tournament right here at home. You're not having to make that travel in order to win some bigger money. We're going to have one at Bone Creek on the 22nd. We're going to cap it at 30 anglers. So we're going to have up to 30 anglers on the water, $100 entry fee. And typically when you're fishing these more local club tournaments, you're looking at, maybe $40, $50 entry. So high stakes, high rewards. And anybody who's maybe interested in doing that, get a hold of me, get a hold of Todd Seagraves, and we can get you signed up with the Kansas Bass Nation and make sure you're eligible. So once more, guys, if you want to get entered to win the Clutch Big Softy 2-pack, put that over there in the comment section to the side, and we will get you entered. I think that's really all I had here. We're going to go ahead and bring Hunter on, and we'll get the show started here tonight. Again, I see you guys over there in the comment section. Brooks is commenting on how big the baits are, and he is getting himself entered into have used the bait themselves, just like Scott. Okay. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and bring Hunter on, and we will get tonight's show started. Hey, what's up, man? Thank you. Yep, there you go.
Okay,
I
perfect.
Can hear you now.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
You were just telling me before we went live here that you just got off the lake. And you caught
some fish. We went to me and my buddy, actually my tournament partner. We went to Table Rock today. It was one of them days that we looked at the weather coming up to previously this week, and we're like, man, we cannot miss out on today. So we skipped school and went out and fishing, and we just heard that the fish were spawning at Table Rock, so we couldn't miss out on that. We don't get to spawn fish that much. We're always fishing tournaments that, college tournaments that we always think they're going to be spawning, but it never happens to be that way. So we like to get out there and have fun here and there when we can.
Yeah. There's definitely a difference between fun fishing and tournament fishing.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to just get out there, no pressure, And yeah, maybe that's something we can touch on too. And
Yeah.
that you have experience with, we kind of talked about that, and maybe that's a good place to start. There's going to be some people that come on here tonight that don't know you, have never met you.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you just want to give them kind of a brief introduction and then roll into kind of where your fishing and tournament fishing started, and then we can kind of just take it from there.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Hunter Baird. I started out, cut my teeth fishing Milford Lake, Wilson Lake. That's where I grew up. Started tournament fishing there, as John said earlier, as a small child. My dad got me into fishing when I was, I can't even remember. Probably when I started walking, and I don't remember. There was many days after school when the weather even was crappy. I would get home from school as soon as I could and grab my fishing pole and walk down the road and go hop fences and go fish farm ponds, and that's where I started. And I started fishing the Salina Bassmaster Club when I was 12 years old. And that's where I really got my love of tournament fishing. I treated almost every tournament that I fished, a club tournament, as the Bassmaster Classic when I was young. I wanted to win I wanted to catch every fish that was out there. And I still have it. I still have that passion today. And that's basically drawn me towards the school that I go to is Drury, located in Springfield, Missouri. This is my senior year. I'll be graduating here in May. But I've been fortunate enough to make it in the college ranks and do good enough to where my name is out there a little bit. Not as much as some other guys that are out there that I've done real well. But I fished here for 4 years. It's going to be pretty bittersweet when I have to end it. Fishing on a we get everything paid for here. So at fishing for free, you can't beat it. So it's gonna suck if you want to say when I graduate, but that's where I'm at. I hope to keep making steps forward. This tournament that I just fished that we're going to talk about tonight kind of gave me a step forward to maybe make it to the I got to fish one more tournament to see if I can make it to the another level and go from there.
Yeah, very cool. Now, for somebody who is, maybe some of the younger anglers out there that maybe aren't to that high school level yet, or maybe maybe they're looking for an opportunity to compete. Like, how did you get involved at that younger age, and then did you fish through high school, and what did all that look like? What are some of the maybe tips that you have for anglers that are just looking to get out there and get some tournament experience?
Yeah. So how it all started was when I was, like I say, when I was small, my dad, we used to fish the Hayes Big Bass Tournament every year in September when I was, I probably was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Wow. And that's where it all started. And then I proceeded into the club. But when I got in high school, we didn't have a high school team, if you want to say. It was me and my buddy, Nick Davenport. That's who fished with me. And then we didn't have enough people to sign up for a club. So we had my sister sign up, his sister sign up. We had to, I had to bribe some people to get on our team so we could make a team so I could fish, and, back when I fished freshman, sophomore, junior year, even my senior year, there wasn't many boats that we fished. I mean, we fished, it was maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 boats if the weekend was nice. And, now, with Travis running it's became, it's 50, 60 boats now. I mean, I voted for a team at Table Rock. The guy that I voted for ended up coming to Drury. His name's Nathan Fidley. And there was 60 boats there. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. It's a huge step forward to where it was even 3 years ago when I fished. And, some of the tips that I got through is I would like to say I got lucky in a lot of tournaments because, Kansas fishing, I mean, is great at sometimes, but sometimes it's not. But, I got lucky enough to get to a college that pays for everything and that basically gets our name out there for us. And so that's where I ended up coming just because of the simple fact that everything was paid for. Fishing is not a cheap hobby. So, going into that was one of the big things that I looked for when looking for a college. And, when you're even in high school, if you're looking for a high school team to get a part of, if you feel comfortable there, I mean, that's where I would stay. If that, if you're from the Kansas City area, even if you're from where I'm from, Salina, there's a lot of clubs around now that, when I fished, there wasn't many clubs, but now they're starting to get big, and which is awesome because, like I said, when I fished, there was 8, 10, 15, 20 boats maybe. And, down in Alabama, there's 200, 300 boats in a tournament, so that's, it's crazy to see how high school fishing has evolved over even the past 4 years.
Yeah. And then, so you don't just get a pick like, hey, I want to go to Drury. That's where I'm going to go. Like is there some sort of like recruiting process like there would be for other sports?
Yeah. So how we do it now is, so you can just say, hey, our coach, his name's Rick Emmett. You can email him or message him on Facebook. That's how I actually got in touch with him. Was we're driving home from a tournament and I saw Drury University and I messaged him on Facebook and he's like, yeah, man, come for a visit. So how we do it here is you come in for a visit, you come meet the team and then our coach looks into your stats and looks in, so basically just like you would do for football, baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever, and it's all about how you perform. But I mean, as most of us know, I mean, fishing, there's a lot of skill in it, but there is a lot of luck. And so, like in football and basketball, you got to be all skill, and so, yeah, I mean, it sucks sometimes to be like, oh man, well, I got third in 4 tournaments. Now I've never won one. Well, that's not that. He doesn't look at how many tournaments you won. He looks to how consistent you are, and that's the big thing a lot of people look for in college is how consistent you can be in different bodies of water. So that and doing that is spending time on the water. The more time you're on the water, the better you're going to be. And that's what I've learned over the years. My freshman year, I'd go fishing once or twice a month. I didn't get to go fishing all the time. I got to go to the tournaments here and there, and that was about it. I didn't go to Table Rock every weekend. I didn't go to that. But, I think it's hurt me over the years. I wish I was out there every weekend and learning because every time you go out, you learn something. It's, even though if you're fishing the same exact thing, you always learn a little something. So that'll always make you a better angler if you're on the water more.
For sure. Yeah. Heck yeah. And, okay. So we talked about fishing for Drury. This is your senior year. Mm-hmm. You said you've got another event or so to kind of take it to the next step. What is that next step for you? I know you kind of talked about the goal of making it to the Classic, but like on a professional, level, what is the goal from here?
So I would love to make it to the Elite Series. That's been my dream since I was a little kid, but how they got it now, coming out of college and not having, money, it's going to be hard to fish the Opens right off the bat. So the way that I'm looking at it now, I made it to the BFL All-American, which is at Hartwell in the end of May, 1st of June.
Nice.
And so that'll get, if I win, if I happen to win, that'll really, make a big footprint for me. But no, what I'm thinking of is fishing the Toyotas next year. Just, I don't have to fish all 9 like I have to do the Opens. I can fish 3 or 4 tournaments and maybe make it to the championship and then make it to the invitationals. And that would be a good starting point for me for sure. But maybe when I get some more money, I will fish the Opens, when I get a little bit more time and stuff like that. But no, I just got some word the other day, and I don't know if this is supposed to be leaked out, but I'm going to say it anyway, that the college bracket's going to be held at Milford Lake. And so, being it held at my home lake, I mean, that's where I grew up. I grew up there in Wilson Lake, and that's, if I somehow can make it to that tournament, it's going to give me a very good chance to make it to the Bassmaster Classic. And that's the biggest prestigious tournament ever to be held. So, sure. That's, I mean, I'm going to try my darndest to make it to that dang thing and see what I can do.
Heck yeah. You heard it here first, guys. Okay. So if you want to maybe take us in, and guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you're just now tuning in, I do want to remind you, we are doing a giveaway. There's only a few people that have actually, followed the steps here. So if you want to be, entered into a chance to win these big swim baits, these are from Clutch and Temptation Tackle. Type over there in the live comment section. You do have to be a live viewer. So if you're viewing this later on, unfortunately, we've already determined who the winner will be. But put that over in the comment section. Big Softy, just like you guys see on the screen from Mr. Brooks Milbourne. Shout out to the boat guy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the Lake of the Ozarks event. This is the TBF National Championship. Maybe just take us into what your ideas were going into the event, and then maybe how some of that changed throughout your pre-fishing, and then go into the tournament days as well.
Yeah. So basically, when all the thought process went into this is the day after I had won the semifinals at Stockton Lake, the Kansas Missouri semifinals was in September, and we knew it was going to be somewhere centrally located, and so we were waiting on that form to come out and know where that tournament's going to be. So when it was brought out to where it was going to be at Lake of the Ozarks, it basically was a huge sigh of relief, because I was like, man, I don't got to travel very far to go to this tournament.
Yeah,
I can put some time and some effort into this tournament instead of showing up for 3 days and just winging it.
Yeah,
and so I put a lot of time in. As soon as I heard it was out there, I started. I think I spent about $400 on cinder blocks. I went out and planted brush piles because I thought that was going to be the deal. So I spent a lot of weekends planting brush, marking brush, finding where I think the bass were going to be, and I spent a lot of time doing that. And I did that all the way up until basically the off limits. The off limits was March 12th, and the tournament was on the 29th, 30th, and 31st. And so I put all this brush, and I probably put in over 60 to 80 piles of brush. Just little piles of brush that a fish could sit on. I could jerk my jerkbait over 4 or 5 times, and if they weren't on there, I could roll. Well, I planted all that, and so the last day that I went out and planted brush, I went and checked a few of them. And the first one I pulled up to, I threw my jerkbait over, caught a 5-pounder, and I'm like, oh well, dang, this is going to be good. And so I was like, well, all my stuff's going to be good because no one knows about it. And so I went into practice thinking this is how it was going to be won was jerkbait and A-rig and brush. And I think a lot of people thought that was how it was going to be. And I think the fish were just transitioning into getting up shallow. And so that brush played a little bit in the tournament, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. But it really wasn't. I didn't catch a single bass on any of the brush piles that I planted, which I hate to say that, but that's just what I mean. It just happened to be one of those things that just didn't happen. So start of practice was 3 days before the event was on I want to say a Sunday. Yes, on a Sunday. So we went out, and I just went out and started just fishing around the areas where I had planted brush, see if I could get a little bit more, detail on where the fish were at. And then I started to notice that I couldn't catch them off any of the brush that I planted or any brush that I'd found per se. And so I started scrambling around. I was freaking out after the first day of practice. I'm like, man, I didn't catch nothing. I caught a bunch of fish, just a bunch of little ones. And I'm like, man, this ain't good. And so the second day of practice, I pulled up in this pocket. I was fishing up by the dam for the most part. I say the dam, around the mouth of the Gravois to Toll Bridge is where most of my stuff was at. And I pulled in this pocket, and it's a very well-known pocket. I forget the name of it now. It's up there around the Gravois. But I pulled in there, and I was fishing some brush, and I'm like, man, I can't get a bite doing this. So I started looking around. I started flipping some docks, spinner baiting some docks, and I'm like, man. So I accidentally fell on my trolling motor pedal and scanned out in the middle, and there was some shad and a fish by it. So I was like, oh man. So the wind was blowing in there real hard, and I threw my A-rig out there to it, and dunk, caught him, and it was a 3-pounder. And I'm like, man, and I was in 25 foot of water out in the middle of the pocket. There was nothing around, no dock, no nothing. And I'm like, okay. So I continued to go and scan around, and there was another blob. So I throw my A-rig out to it, another, 15 incher. I'm like, well, dang, okay. So I keep going a little bit more, and I throw out there to another one, and I catch one, and it's 2.5 pounds. I'm all right, I'm done fishing. I might be on to something. So I started running wind-blown longer creeks that had shad in it, basically primarily for the whole winter. And there were just fish out there roaming. They weren't on anything. Some of them weren't on anything. Some of them weren't on shad. They were just out by themselves out. And if you always look at live scope, a lot of people have live scope now, so they know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're just scanning around and you see a blob out there and you're like, man, that ain't a bass, that's what I thought. at Lake of the Ozarks. Well, that's probably a carp. That's probably a drum. Well, it wasn't this time. And that basically taught me a lesson. Say, hey, it may take you a little bit more time, but throw at every fish that you see that you think might be a bass, because that's what I did. And I was like, man, that might be a bass. I threw out to it and caught it. Yeah. And so that was my game plan rolling in, was I was gonna go back there and try to catch as much weight as I could in the back of them creeks, back of them longer pockets that had shad in them, and then go fish brush, because I knew in the back of my head, I knew there was big ones living on brush. That's just where they were. That's where they've been. I mean, the weather hadn't been warming up enough for them to get up on the bank yet. It hadn't set up right in my mind for them to be anywhere else besides this. When I say brush, I was fishing brush in like, let's say 15 to 6 foot. I want to say shallower brush. Yeah. And so, but I couldn't get them to bite anything. Like they would not come up and look at a jerkbait. They wouldn't come follow an A-rig, nothing. And so the night before the tournament, I was digging through my stuff, and I had a spinning rod laying out, and I was like, man, I don't know what to tie on this. So I was digging through my box. I'm like, man, I'll just throw a little 2.8 swim bait on there, just because the water was gin clear up where I was fishing. I mean, it really clearer than I've ever seen it. And I had it on the deck, and I brought it out, and I pulled into this pocket where I had mentioned where I caught them fish, and I got lucky. I did get really lucky, because the first one I caught was a 3.5 pounder live scoping on a jerk bait, and then the second one I caught was a 5 pounder. And then I filled my limit out, and I made I was driving down the lake, and I saw a secondary point with some wind blowing on. I stopped and made one cast and caught almost a 4 pounder. Oh. And so that set me up for my weight. I mean, I had probably 15.5 pounds by 8:30, 9 o'clock. Wow. And I was like, well, dang, so I'm sitting all right, because the fishing hadn't been like lights out like it should have been. Usually the end of March, that 1st of April, the fishing is like stupid. I mean, you can go on every point, A-rig, jerk bait, and go catch 15 pounds all day long. It just wasn't like that. And I don't know what, I think it was the weather, and also Lake of the Ozarks was 6 foot low. And so they fluctuated the water a lot between our off limits and when the tournament started. So, we had got some rain, and it dirtied up a lot of the river. I want to say the rivers, the Grand Glaze, which is where PB2 is located, is the mouth of the Grand Glaze, and then up the river by, up by Warsaw and all that kind of stuff. It had gotten dirty, and but cold and dirty. It wasn't warm and dirty, So the river bite hadn't popped off yet, and so going into the first day, like I said, I had caught that good bag right off the bat, and so I started just fishing brush, and lo and behold, the first brush pile roll up too. I threw my A-rig over it, nothing. Threw my jerkbait over it, nothing. I'm like, man, I'll throw a swim bait. So I threw it out there, and one came out and grabbed it, and it was a keeper. And it didn't help me, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep doing this. And so I went traveling around, and I fished a bank that I'd never even fished in my whole entire life. I pulled up on it. There was a brush pile sitting on it, and I threw my swim bait over it and caught one and cooled up, and I cooled up to 17 pounds. And the first day, it was not like fast, and it was not after I caught him. I didn't catch a lot of fish afterwards. But it was also dead slick calm. They were not pulling any water. The fishing just wasn't that good. Yeah. And so the second day, went out, and I was like, man, I could probably go catch another 15 pounds, I think, out of these couple pockets that I'd caught them in. And so I rolled in there, and I sit down, and this boat behind me sits down, and there's a boat behind him, and I'm like, gosh dang, there's no way they're following me. Well, first place was in right behind me, and they had a counterboat on him. And so I knew that I was in the right place. As soon as I sat down, I was like, well, that's the leader. So, I mean, I guess I'm in the right. So I started fishing around, and they just weren't.
Give you a little bit of confidence.
It did. I mean, we sat down, and I was like, well, good. I mean, at least I know that he caught some big ones in here too. So, I mean, there must be a good population of bigger fish. And we started fishing, and me and my co-angler, and we just, I was live scoping them, man, and they just were not having it. They just were not. I throw my jerk bait by them, and they would follow it for 2 or 3 feet, and they turn around and keep going what they're doing. And I did that forever. And I caught one pretty quick right off the bat. It wasn't a very big one. I ended up weighing it in, because I did not catch them very good the second day, and I ended up weighing that one in. And I caught 2 more in a pocket just down from there, towards the dam, and that was it for a while. And then the counterboat came in and was on me for a while. And so I decided, I was like, hey, I got to go do something else. So I ran into a pocket where I had caught them in practice. I ended up, there was a pocket where I had caught them on a Demiki rig. It was in 30 foot out in the middle. I was catching them just roaming on a Demiki rig. They wouldn't need a jerk bait. They'd follow it. But I threw that Demiki rig out on them, and they ate it pretty good. But they were all 14 inches. And I'm like, man, they're just not keepers. Well, I was like, man, they might be some keepers in there. So I'm going to go risk it and go in there. And I ended up catching 2 more in there. And I caught my 5th one. And I was like, well, okay, I need to go do something off the wall and try to catch a couple bit, because I had like 10 pounds, like not good at all.
Yeah.
And so I started scrambling around, and I just could not catch them. And I caught one good one, a 2 3/4 pound right at the end of the day. And that cold me up to almost 11 pounds. And that's all I had the second day. And I knew after that, after my last spot, that all my fish were gone. They were not going to bite. They weren't going to cooperate with me. And so I was like, I got to go do something special. So I pulled into check in, and I was like, man, I don't think I made it, because I 11 pounds, that just ain't good on this lake. I mean, that's just, someone's going to catch him. And the guy behind me, his name was James Biggs, and he's a very, very, very good fisherman. And I knew that he was going to catch at least what he caught the day before, which was 11 pounds. So I knew that I needed at least what I had to make it to the second day. And fortunately for me, he only had, I think he had 12.5 pounds. And so that gave me enough weight to make it to the third day. Let me fish the BFL here in May and represent Kansas in the Central Division. And
Nice.
So I was sitting there rigging up tackle, and a windstorm was coming in. It got bad the third day. It was windy. It was raining. It was bad. It was one of the days you do not want to be out on the lake. But but for 125 grand, I didn't care. So I was tying my stuff up, and I'm like, man, I knew my fish were gone. They just weren't. It wasn't going to be good. And I knew the leader. He'd only caught 10 pounds that day, the second day as well. So I knew that he wasn't. I knew he didn't catch them either. So
it looked like day 2, definitely the weights went down. I'm looking at the standings here. Yeah, and I guess there was a 14 and a 13 pound bag, but it seemed like everybody was kind of in that same.
And the weather was nice. I mean, it was warm. It was wind. I mean, it was a little bit of wind blowing. The sun was up. I mean, it set up for a good day. I just did not bite for all of us. And I don't know. I honestly don't have any rhyme or reason why they didn't bite or commit, but they just did not want to. I mean, they didn't want anything to do with what I was doing. And what I was doing a little bit something different. I know a lot of guys that like to throw the regular size jerk bait. And so what I did, and what I kind of figured out in pre-practice, was I could throw a junior, the Mega Bass Vision 110 +1 junior on 8 pound line. And I had one rigged up on a spinning rod and one rigged up on a bait caster. But I threw that bait caster primarily the whole time, because I could reel it in real quick, throw it out, make accurate casts with it, work it how I wanted to work it. And that's what got me most of my bites. I mean, I'm going to say 90% of the fish that I weighed in came off that thing the first 2 days. Then I caught some on that little tiny Kitech swim bait on an 1/8 ounce jig head on 8 pound line on a spinning rod as well. And I can get into all the rods and reels and line that I was using, after that I get done talking about this. But like I said, I was tying my stuff up on the end of the second day, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna have to go do something. And I knew in the back of my head that one of the days the river was going to go off, which, I mean, when I'm talking about the river, I mean like 60 mile mark or 65 mile. I mean, way up the river. So my partner, I linked up with him after the tournament, and he's like, what are we going to do? I'm like, dude, I have no idea yet. He's like, I'm not going back to where I've been, because I know they're not there, and I have to make up, because I was almost 8 pounds behind the leader going into the third day.
Yeah. And
so I got to do something. I got to catch 25 pounds more to even have a shot of winning this thing. And I knew that they wasn't going to happen down by the dam where I was fishing. So I was like, I got to go do something special. So I filled my boat all the way up, as much gas as I could put in the dang thing, rigged me up a spinner bait and a big jig, and I ran my butt all the way up the river. And I actually started in a creek called Proctor, and which is I think about this 55, 58 mile marker, somewhere right in there. And I started fishing, and I started flipping my jig around right as soon as the morning. I caught a little one. I'm like, man, all right, this is gonna be good. Well, my co-angler got hung up in a lay down behind me, so I spun the boat around, and I get up there and I hit my trolling motor on the lay down, and my trolling motor blades snap off. And I'm like, oh geez. So I'm digging around trying to find a prop, and I can't find it. I'm like, I know I have one in there. And finally I dig far enough down. I'm like, crap, that I got all on my boat, and I find a spare prop. It's all beat up and everything. And I'm like, oh, good night, finally. So I'm back in the back of this pocket, and I'm trying to put the prop on, and this dude's fishing, and he's getting hung up, and I'm like, I can't help you, dude. And it was a cluster for like the first hour and a half. I'm trying to put a new prop on the trolling motor, and it was, as soon as we get that all figured out. So I get the new prop on, I'm trolling motor out, and I'm like, man, all right, so what do I do now? So I start fishing, and I just start picking stuff methodically apart. I start flipping, I start throwing spinnerbait, I start throwing a chatterbait. In the water, it was sunny in the morning, and it was fairly calm. So the water was gradually getting warmer and warmer. And I was like, man, Proctor wasn't producing. I caught that one little one right off the bat, and that was it. So I ran up just past right around Browns Bend area, and I pulled in this creek, and I forget the name. I'm not very, I want to say, a local from here, so I don't know all the creek names up there. And so I pull in there, and I start fishing this bank, and I throw a chatterbait up there, and I catch one about 4 pounds. And I'm like, oh, dang, okay. So I keep going, and the wind started to pick up again. There was it was supposed to blow like sustained 25 by the end of the day, like sustained 25 gusts up to 50. It was going to be one of them days, that we have on Wilson that always seems to happen. It blows bad like that. So
and that's probably pretty bad on a lake that size, I'd imagine.
Well, it to be honest with you, there's certain stretches where it gets bad.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the lake sets up, it's very winding, and you can get out of the wind.
Sure.
But the problem was that creek that I ended up catching him in, the one that I was in when I caught that 4-pounder, the wind was blowing right down the middle of it. I mean, it's hard to fish. And so I started going back, and I had a bite on my chatterbait, excuse me, and I didn't hook him, and I was like, man, all right. So, but I noticed that the water was getting cleaner and cleaner as I got back in there, and it hadn't got clean yet, but the water was still 58, 59 degrees back there. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's something, something's about to happen. So I kind of drifted off this channel swing bank that I was fishing, and I tied on a War Eagle double willow leaf spinnerbait, and started going on the bank because the water's a little cleaner, and ended up catching one almost 5. I think it was 4 3/4. And I was like, okay, man, I might make a run at this thing. I was excited to get out. I got really excited. And then after that, it sucked. The fishing was horrible. I didn't catch any more fish. I think I caught 2 more bass, 2 more little 15 inchers, and I caught them on that spinnerbait, and that was it. I mean, that was my third day. And I came in, I was like, man, I know I didn't get first, but I maybe got second. But I just knew that I had to do something special the third day to even have a chance of winning. And the dude that won, his name was Andy Fryer. Good dude. I talked to him at the tanks for a while. He's a very good dude. He ended up staying around the glaze and throwing a spinnerbait and catching him. He had 19 and a half pounds, or just over 19 or 19 and a half, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 19 too.
Yep. And I mean, I knew that it was either going to happen in the glaze, which is where he was fishing, right around PB2, or up where I was fishing. And that was where one of the big bags were going to get caught out. And so, luckily for him, he figured them out the last day and caught them. I wasn't as fortunate. I just don't think up there where I was fishing, they had moved up yet. The water was still kind of clean, and that glaze, it was really dirty and warming up quick. And so that water that I was fishing was still stained, but it wasn't dirty by any means. And the guy that was in the lead only had 2 bass the third day. And so it made me feel a lot better coming in, saying, hey, at least because I would have been doing the same thing he would do. And he probably would have caught more fish than me. I mean, because he knew what he was doing. I just was out there fishing. I had a select couple pockets that I was running, and that was it. And so made me feel better coming in, I had 13 pounds of 4 bass. So it made me feel a lot better coming in, and knowing that I put myself in the position to win that tournament. I fell up a little short, but that's the name of the game. And so,
Sure.
but that's how I went about the tournament. I thought it was going to be one-off brush, and it wasn't. I don't think the guy, I don't think anyone, I think some people did, but not anyone that made it the third day was catching him off a brush. And so, I had a lot of preconceived notions in my head on how it was going to be won. And luckily I got guided in a different direction, because I would have did the same thing for the 2 days that I fished, and probably wouldn't have made it the third day if I wouldn't have got on that little special deal that I had figured out the last day or the second day of practice.
Yeah. And that's something that I think comes with experience as well. So you've had this experience fishing club stuff. You've had the experience fishing high school, collegiate events, so you have the ability to recognize, when it's time to maybe switch it up. Right. So,
yeah.
And you're learning stuff still, right? You learned something
Exactly.
at this event too. So like, you're going to be able to take the information that you gathered on day 3 and maybe use that to your advantage, when you're at an even bigger stage. Right. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, it taught me a lesson that, I had to go with my gut. I knew, like I said, the fish weren't, but if younger me, I'd have been like, I'm going back up there. I'm going to try to catch them again. But
yep.
Deep down in my gut, I knew, I was like, I do not have enough fish. They're not going to bite. They're not going to do and I didn't do it. And I'm very glad I did not go back up by the dam and do what I was going to continue to do, because it wouldn't have worked out for me. But yeah, I cut my teeth, flipping shallow, throwing a spinner bait. Sure. It was never. I know LiveScope came out 2017, I want to say, and I thought that thing was stupid. I was like, man, that thing, I don't need that. Them guys can waste their time looking at. I'm gonna go throw a spinner bait and a chatter bait and flip down the bank and catch them.
Yeah.
Well, I got in a boat with a good buddy of mine. His name's Cole Breeden, and he opened my eyes to how to LiveScope. And the first boat, we had a 2001 Ranger is what I started out fishing in college my freshman year. And then my sophomore year, my dad bought me a Nitro that had a LiveScope on it, but I never knew how to run it. I just thought, I can see the brush pile with it, and I'll throw my big worm at it or whatever. And that's all I used it for. I never used it for chasing fish around. And he took me out to Table Rock and showed me how to do it. And from then on, I was like, this is the deal. You have to have this in the. And nowadays, and it's sad, but it's sad, but it's not sad at the same time, that you have to have these expensive electronics to do good in a tournament, because especially in the college level, because everyone's got it, everyone's going to utilize it, so not going to say that you have to have it to do good, but it makes it a lot dang easier to locate fish. So that's a big tool nowadays is LiveScope. It helped me in that tournament for sure. I LiveScoped, all them fish up the first day and the second day. But that's just where it is now.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're still using it up shallow, and a lot of people don't realize how effective LiveScope can be up shallow.
Yeah.
But, and so if you want to touch on that, I'd love to hear that. But like growing up in Kansas, you're probably not fishing for the same fish that you are now when you're targeting them out deep, like those suspended fish, like, probably not as much anyway. So did you have to switch that up? Are you like, how did that change up? Going from that shallow water, and now you have all these different tools on your belt. So that you got to know when to use which one, like maybe go into that a little bit, like how you made that.
So I use LiveScope pretty much the whole time that I'm fishing. I'm always looking at it, always trying to see if I can see something, because there's many times where you're going on the bank and you're not paying attention to what's going on. You're throwing a top water, you're throwing a spinner bait, and you look down, there's a big brush pile down there. And you're like, man, I bet you there was a bass on that. Well, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to be like, keep on going, but if you were looking at your LiveScope, you had your LiveScope tuned up, you would have saw that brush pile 60 foot out. Throw your bait at it. And probably, you might catch one, you might not. Sure. But sometimes that helps. And going into the shallow thing, I use it in shallow water quite a bit. And a lot of people don't realize you can use it in 6 foot and less.
Yeah.
Um,
2
there's
foot of
just
water. I mean, you can get some
you
really
can
good information in 2 foot of water. It's
you
crazy.
can you can and that's I was the same way. I was like, man, you can't use that thing shallow, and the shallower I got, I was like, man, I can. So I guess take this for instance. I was fishing the TBF semifinals at Stockton Lake, and I was catching them in inches. I mean, I had my trolling motor almost out of the water.
Yep.
But how I was catching some of them was them shallow brush, but you wouldn't be able to side scan that at all. You know,
No.
you're in 4 foot of water. You can't see that on. I mean, you can, but I mean, it's very hard to see.
Yep.
And so that live scope, I would turn it to perspective mode and just pan around on them flats and find them brush and mark them, and then come back and fish them later. And that's how I did. That's how I caught my bigger bites every day in that tournament, was doing that.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's helped me out because I mean, shallow water fishing is, everyone thinks, oh well, you got to be going on the bank and throwing a spinnerbait, buzzbait, chatterbait, whatever, squarebill. Well, you know, I'm getting out in the middle of them flat creeks that, you know, that you're out in the middle of the creek and you're in a 2 foot of water, and I can still live scope, you know. And so that's, like you said, there's a lot more information to be learned up shallow with live scope than there is just with your eyes and just go on the bank with a moving bait.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that we talked about here recently, you know, with customers that are looking to get into a forward facing system, is how important range is becoming, and is going to increasingly become more important, because like how the fish are reacting to this technology, right? So
yeah,
you know, where you're maybe catching them, and there's going to be days where you're catching them, you know, right on top of them, and they don't mind, but you know, hearing that pinging, they're getting conditioned to that, I feel like. And I don't know if you've experienced that.
I have, and I recently purchased the I think it's is it the 34 now, or is it 36?
Yep. 34.
34. Okay, I couldn't remember, but that live scope plus, and that you can see your bait out to 130 feet. I mean, I can scan. I get it out to. I have mine set up as 90 feet because it has the increments a little bit shorter, and I can precisely land my bait exactly where I need it. But you can scan it out to 150 feet and throw your A-rig as far as you can. You can see it hit the water. You can see it sink. You can see everything at that far. And with the old transducer, you could only see it out to about 100, 110 feet if you're lucky, if you got it set up pristine.
Right.
So having that range and it being so clear out, that is helped a lot of the people, I guess, that do that suspended fish thing. Like I do at Table Rock, I do what I was doing. You know, you can see a blob out there at 90 feet and throw it as far as you can throw it. And you know, if it's in, I mean, if the further they are away, the less they're going to feel that ping, the more intent that they're going to bite that bait. And so that was a big thing that I've had to learn, to stay off of them fish a ways. You know, sometimes, like you said, they're going to bite underneath the boat and stuff like that. But having them at that 60 and above is about where you can almost guaranteed to get them to bite, or at least chase it or nip at your bait or whatever. You know, when they get in within that 55, that 45, that 30 is when they start feeling the pressure of the boat, the pinging and stuff like that. But I did have a problem with my boat, my old boat, my Nitro, that my live scope was messing up. And I had taken it to you guys, and you guys helped me out. And it was like a whole new world opened up. It was something about, I can't remember if the wires got all jacked up or something, but you guys ran new wires, ran new everything. And so that's why, you know, I'll take every boat that I have to you guys, because I trust you guys, and that's why I ended up, you know, getting a boat for you guys, because I knew that if I was going to get all my electronics set up, it was going to get set up right and perfect. So
yeah, that dedicated power is a big deal.
It is.
So
really is.
yeah, if you guys are looking to make sure that you're getting the most out of your electronics, that's a big one. You know, you don't always have to take it to us. You know, if it's something that you want to tackle yourself, run that dedicated power 10 gauge marine grade. You guys will hear Justin talk about it on some of our videos there, but it's been very important in taking advantage of the forward facing sonar technology. Okay. So I've got something that I wanted to go over here. So, and I appreciate you going in depth with all this, but just to kind of learn your style of fishing, I found this deal that actually might be kind of a fun way to learn that about you. Let me pull it up here. and it's just a let's see, is this the right one? Yeah. Okay, something that I found on Facebook here. So it's called This or That.
Okay.
Are you throwing a Texas rig or a jig?
I'm going to throw a Texas rig.
Okay. And what bait are you going to throw on that? What's your go-to?
9 times out of 10, I'm going to throw a beaver. That's my favorite go-to bait. That's what I can always seem to catch fish on. That's just
anyone in particular?
A sweet beaver, a Reaction Innovation sweet beaver. That's just what I throw, flipping around. I flipped it all the time. I flipped it the whole time I was at Lake of the Ozarks. Never got a dang bite on it, but that's what I threw. Yep.
Okay, so Texas rig it is.
Yes.
Color and weight.
It depends on what I'm throwing. It depends on what cover I'm throwing at. If I'm flipping at rock, I'm throwing like a 3/16, so it doesn't get caught up as bad. If I'm flipping wood, I'll keep that 3/16. It depends on how deep it is, or if it's a little bit deeper, I'll go quarter. And if I'm flip thick stuff, it'll be 1/2 ounce plus. That's just how I keep playing simple. It's nothing like, oh, I got to throw a 5/16 here, and if you get it around them, if they're not going to bite it, they're not going to bite it. So,
fair enough. Shaky head or drop shot?
I used to be a big shaky head guy. Big shaky head guy, but I've transformed living here around Table Rock. You have to throw that dang drop shot, and I caught it today bed fishing. I caught a lot of bass on a drop shot, and so I'm gonna have to go with drop shot.
Okay, and what bait are you putting on that most of the time?
A flatworm.
Yep.
That's what I throw on that. That or either a robo worm.
Okay.
Yep.
Jerk bait or swim bait?
Swim bait, 100%. That's how we catch them here at Table Rock, is on a little swim bait. Do catch them on a jerk bait but I have more confidence in that little swim bait just because it's real finesse but even a big swim bait. I like throwing the mag draft. I like throwing the clutch, the glide baits. Those are all good. There's so many. There's a big, you can be very versatile with all sorts of swim baits. Jerk bait, you're kind of, you got a +1, you got a +2, you got a regular. That's about what you got, and that's
Sure. Yeah. Have you thrown the big softy?
I have not. I've not got my hand on one of them, and I have. I've been talking to Brock. I've been trying to snag a couple out of his boat. Every time I see him, I'm like, "Hey, dude, throw me one. I want to throw one." He can't. He's got a couple of them, but he's like, "Dude, I got to save them for tournaments." I'm like, "Man, I need to get me a couple of them."
All right. Well, if the clutch guys or the temptation guys are watching, we need to get Hunter some of these big softies there. I'll put in a good word for you.
Perfect. I appreciate it. That'd be awesome.
And if you guys want a chance to win one, just punch that over there. We got some people that have entered this giveaway in the last few minutes here. Just put that over in the comment section. So we've got a handful of people here that are looking to win one of these bad boys. Okay, shallow or deep fishing?
Shallow water every day. I deep water fishing, I've come accustomed to it. I can do it, but if I can get on the bank, flip, throw a moving bait, I'm going to do that 9 or 10 times out of 10. That's just that's just who I am. That's how I grew up fishing. I grew up fishing that. And so that's just where I'm comfortable at.
Heck yeah. Green pumpkin or watermelon red?
Oh man. Cause I throw both all the time.
You're more of a watermelon red guy now than you were in the past, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I am. But even at the lakes, when Milford and Wilson get real clear, I love throwing watermelon red. But when they get a little stained, I like to throw green pumpkin. I'm gonna go with green pumpkin. That's just I throw that more than I do watermelon red. But I would like to do both. But if I have to choose one, I'll do green pumpkin. And
it'll still work in clear water too.
Yeah, it does. Vibrating
jig or spinnerbait?
So back to the drop shot and shaky head. I used to be a big spinnerbait guy. Used to love throw spinnerbait. That's kind of what I just love getting the hard hits. And you can catch big fish, small fish, everything. But actually, I didn't throw a vibrating jig a lot, chatterbait or whatever you want to call it, a lot. Yeah. But I actually fished with a guy that came to Drury for a couple of years. His name was Bo Browning. I'm sure a lot of you guys, Stephen Browning's son, and that's basically how Stephen Browning's made a lot of money, is throwing a chatterbait. Well, Bo's no different. Bo throws a chatterbait everywhere that he goes. And so he started throwing it, and he I would be back there throwing whatever, spinner bait or whatever, and he'd kick my butt on it. And I'm like, man, I need to start throwing that thing. So now I'll throw a chatterbait more than I'll throw a spinner bait.
And are you like a jackhammer guy? What's your go-to?
Jackhammer.
Okay.
I'll throw some other brands. There's some old brands that we got that Dad and I that they don't make them anymore that we throw on specific stuff, but jackhammer is the go-to for me.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, clear water or dirty water?
Clear water.
Clear water. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that stems from like growing up on Wilson, or
It does. I'm fine with fishing dirty water. I'm fine with it, but it's just, it's Wilson, it stays clear. And
Yeah.
I just grew up fishing in that, if you want to say cleaner water, because you come to Table Rock, you're like, well,
Yeah.
Wilson's dirty compared to
right?
Table Rock.
Yeah.
But, that's how I grew up. And it's almost like I like to see what I'm throwing at. It's a comfort thing. I like to, if I can see my bait a foot down, I'm like, okay, well, a lot of bass can see my bait. If I drop my bait in the water and I can only see 4 inches, I'm like, man, I got to reel it right by one's head if they're going to eat it. So, I just got more comfort fishing in cleaner water.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are you going for the 110 pounder, or are you going for the 30-pound limit?
I'm going to go with the 30-pound limit.
Okay.
I know a 10-pounder is very sought after and all that, but
you're a tournament guy.
I'm a tournament guy. So, that 30-pound limit, no matter where it's at, that's a giant bag. So I'm going to take that any day of the week.
I can't imagine, anybody would be upset with a 30-pound limit.
No way. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, that was kind of a cool little thing.
Yeah, I liked it. That was really cool.
I saw that, and I think that kind of gives people an idea of, your style of fishing. One thing too, one note that I had jotted down here while you were talking earlier was about how you hear people that are fishing here locally, and I'm sure it's no matter where you go, but you have like the local club, like the Bass Nation series, and they will go and they will fish outside of the state. And a lot of people don't like that because maybe they can't take off of work or, the travel, whatever it is. Did you go outside of the state? Did you travel around a lot, growing up through kind of coming up through the ranks? And if so, like, how did that help where you're at now?
So growing up, we didn't travel a lot. I think the main lakes that we fished in high school were where we fished. Well, we fished Milford, Wilson, and Melbourne. That was the 3 lakes that we primarily fished.
Sure.
If we had a tournament, we knew those 3 were going to be on the schedule. But we always had a wild card every year. We went to Grand twice, and we went to Lake of the Ozarks, and we went somewhere else. I can't remember exactly where it was at. We went somewhere out of state, and coming from Kansas, the fishing is almost totally different to where it is at Lake of the Ozarks, Grand Lake, Table Rock. It doesn't even compare to any of that. It's like a whole different realm from where we come from. The fish don't act the same. They do sometimes, but 9 times out of 10 they don't act the same. So it's a big learning curve. And so coming into college, I was like stuck on flipping the beaver, throwing the chatterbait and stuff like that. Well, I have evolved because I got to fish the Chickamaugas, the Pickwicks, the Gunnersvilles. We get to go to up north every year. We get to go to St. Lawrence River, Saginaw Bay. We've been to Hartwell a couple of times. We've been to a couple other lakes down south. Kentucky Lake we've been to a million times. The more that I've gotten out of my comfort zone, moving through the ranks has helped me so much because I can take something that I've learned somewhere else and bring it back to where to even back home, even back fishing at Wilson and bringing it back fishing. Like them guys are getting ready to fish the regional here at Arkansas River, and I've been to Arkansas River twice, and going there, I'm like, man, this is horrible. But the fishing's horrible there. They just had a BFL there, and a lot of the local guys caught them. But like me, I'm not used to fishing locks and lock and dams kind of stuff. I'm used to just running on the lake, fishing a couple pockets, running up the river, fishing a couple more pockets, running mid lake. I can run anywhere I want. but fishing in bigger lakes, it's a big learning curve. And like I said, you can take stuff and use it everywhere. Like, like I know like some of the Kansas guys, they're going to fish that tournament that I mentioned, the one at Arkansas River. And, we don't have a lot of guys do catch them, but a lot of square billing, a lot of just river type fishing. And we don't have we have a little bit of it, but nothing to that extent. I mean, when they get there, their jaws are going to drop. They're like, man, the whole thing's a dang river. It looks like the Smoky Hill River that runs through, that Salina, where I live. That's what it looks like. Yeah. Just a lot bigger, and I'm, when I came there, I'm like, I don't want to be here, man. But that's just, I learned how to fish it. I didn't learn how to fish it. I caught a couple bass the two times that I've been there. But, I've the next time I'm going to be there, I'm like, when I caught a fish here, I'm going to be able to go right back there and have some confidence in fishing that area. So that's a big thing, is getting out of your comfort zone and learning new stuff is a big, huge thing if you want to make it to that college and then step up in that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I just, invite you guys to maybe have a similar attitude, when you go fish somewhere that, maybe isn't, the most desirable place to fish, like the Arkansas River, or whatever it may be. If you're going to have to take a couple extra days off of work, to go compete, it's an opportunity to hone your skills, and it's an opportunity to add those new tools to your belt. And if you want to be a successful fisherman, you're going to have a pretty full tool belt, in order to really make it all come together.
And what a lot of guys don't realize is, them KBN, you can make it to the Bassmaster Classic through them things.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks at the beginning because you gotta work your way through it. But I mean, if you get lucky and, you can make it to the Bassmaster Classic. And so, I'm totally fine with going to Grand Lake. I'm totally fine with going to Lake of the Ozarks. I know it's a confidence thing staying at Wilson and Milford and all them lakes around there, Melbourne, because that's just where everyone's grown up. That's where they know how to fish. But getting out of your comfort zone, and it sucks the first couple times, but that first day of practice, you're like, man, I didn't catch nothing. That's gonna suck. Well, you just gotta, let's try something different this time. Let's you can make it the Classic. That's just that's my biggest thing. I mean, that's what a lot of people do.
And the other thing too, like to your point, a lot of the stuff's not going to translate from Wilson and Milford and Melbourne, right? So, you can fish those lakes every day, and you're going to learn something that's going to help you, right? Yep. But if that information isn't going to really help put you in a better position, then is it, are you just want to go fish a fun tournament? Because if you do, they have those, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if you want to be competitive and you want to take it to that next level, you want to be ready to compete when you get there. When you get to that regional, when you get to that national event, you want to be ready. You don't want to be stuck in that El Dorado Lake mind frame.
Yep, exactly. And so, like the thing that the best example I have is the beaver thing. I figured that out on Wilson. I know a lot of people flip a beaver, but that's just my confidence thing. I caught a lot of fish on it, and I take that everywhere I go. I flip a beaver everywhere I go, and that's just what I do. And I catch bass after bass after bass on it, and that's just a confidence thing. And whatever you guys like to flip it wherever you. I mean, Arkansas does. I mean, it's all about a confidence thing. It's not about, oh well, they're biting a jig and I don't. I'm not a very good jig fisherman. Well, flip what you want. I mean, flip what you want. I mean, they're not going to be eating. I mean, you flip it by 5 bass. They're not all going to be eating a jig. They're going to eat something different. So,
heck yeah. Let's see. Okay, did you? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh.
You disappeared on me anyway, so you may be able to hear me. But we'll go ahead and kind of start to wind things down here. We'll do our giveaway here in a minute. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity to maybe shout out like some sponsors. Talk about maybe what you have coming up later on this season and some stuff that you have to look forward to.
Yeah, so some new sponsors that I came up with this year. So obviously, Russell Marine Products had helped me out. You guys got me in a boat, and I was kind of in a bind. I sold my boat and talked to Justin, and he's obviously a great dude, and he helped me out. He got me in a boat and rigged it all up for me. It was just it was one of them things that I'll never turn away from you guys, because that's you guys helped me out, and I'm going to stick with you guys as long as I can. Another big sponsor of mine, Whitetail Properties, Mitch Keeley. He got me in with them guys, and I can't appreciate him enough. And another big one of mine is Texoma Tackle. They Tungsten and Jigs. I've been with them for 3 years now, I want to say, and they make the this no chip tungsten. And so you know how you're always flipping around rocks and stuff like that, and your paint comes off your tungsten here and there, and
Yep.
You don't have as much confidence. You're like, man, now it's got a shiny piece in it. Now the bass might not bite it. Well, they make this no chip stuff, and they it does not chip. I got a piece of tungsten I've had in there for 3 years, and it has teeth marks all over it, and rock dings and stuff like that, but it ain't got no silver, no nothing on it. So that's a big thing that was a big thing that turned me onto them. Mesu Fishing.
Yeah.
Make
you say,
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, this is going to be cheesy, but my biggest sponsors of all is my mom and my dad. I wouldn't be out here doing it if it wasn't for them. So my mom and dad helped me. They got me in a nice boat and give me a nice truck to travel around the country and let me try to live my dreams. So, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be out here doing this. So I have to give a huge shout out to them.
Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, Russell Marine, Whitetail Properties, Texoma Tackle, all them guys. I wouldn't be out here if it wasn't for them either. So, huge thanks to them. And, I guess currently got my boat wrapped, so I'll be basically a traveling billboard going to my next couple tournaments. I got one coming up at James River in Virginia here next week. Actually, we leave on Monday.
Nice.
And so that'll be a chance to make it to the college bracket, which is going to be, or the national championship. And I have to make it to the college bracket. The national championship, I don't know where that's held at yet. And then we have another one at Red River at the 1st of May coming up. And I don't know why they're sending us to these not very good fisheries, but that was just, that's always a thought, but, Red River has never been good to a lot of people. So I don't know why we're going there, but whatever. But we're going to go and try it and give it our all. And that's about it. That'll wrap up my college career. I'll fish a couple more in the summer to see if I can make the MLF National Championship. But that'll wrap up my college career, and then I'll be fishing with the KBN guys hopefully here in this summer. So and TBF. So that'll be where I'm at when I get done. Very cool.
Well, I know there's a lot of guys that are watching here tonight, or that will watch, that are cheering for you. It's awesome to have somebody local here kind of making a splash. And not only that, but also I think that it's going to motivate people, younger people, to chase their dreams, right? I mean, you got to do it. I think we live in a day and age where you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, if you want to be a professional hula hooper, I mean, you can do it. I mean,
that's right. That's exactly right.
And, fishing probably wasn't very cool growing up for you, know, I mean, it really, really wasn't. It's kind of cool now. And there's a lot more opportunity, and what guys like Travis, what the KBN are doing for the youth, what all those parents are doing, including what yours have done for you. Mm-hmm. If your kid's not into baseball or football and they don't want to do travel teams, I mean, you can put as much time and money and dedication into this fishing stuff. So I think that it is kind of opened parents' eyes up to the opportunities as well.
It has. And like I said, previous when we were talking about this, is high school fishing was never a big thing. And now it's big enough. It's catching people's eyes, like you say. And it's becoming, I mean, it's bigger than it's bigger than some football stuff now. I mean, we're making, the college, we're making money in college. We're making money. We fish the BFLs on the weekends, when we don't have college tournaments. So we're constantly fishing for money all the time. And that's just a thing that, a lot of people say, oh, you got to spend more than you make. Well, yeah, that's what fishing is. It's not a cheap hobby, but but it's fun. It's if you're not having it, like the old saying, if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it? So, just do what you love. I mean, I've fell in love with it at a young age, and I'm just a competitive person, and I love competing against people. And so this is the best sport for me. I would love to be playing football and doing all that, but this is what I love to do. And I wake up every morning and want to go fishing, but I got to go to class. But but that'll be over, and I'll start working and doing all that.
So before we wrap it up, so what are you majoring in? Like, what's going to pay the bills until you can finally hang that up and fish full time?
So I'm going. I'm getting my marketing degree here at Drury, and I'm hoping So how I basically got into that was my mom and my dad. Well, my mom primarily. She was a pharmaceutical rep for a couple pharmaceutical companies, and I rode around with her, as a small child, and she would walk in and talk to people and be like, yeah, well, I just sold this much, or I just sold this much. I'm like, man, all I got to do is talk to them. And a lot of people who know me, I love to talk, and I like to talk loud, and I like to talk a long time. So you have to shut me up sometimes. And so basically at a young age, I knew, hey, I might be good at this selling stuff. I might be good at sales, talking to people, getting to know them, building a relationship. And, so that's just where I got. And so that's what I'm going to do when I get to college. I got a couple job opportunities. So I'm going to try to pursue them, see which one's going to basically pay the bills the best and pursue them and try to fish on the side and still try to make it step forward. Like I said, in them Toyota series and stuff like that. And then, if I can make enough money, get enough time in my hands where I can start fishing the opens full time and try to make it to the Elite Series, I'm going to try, because that's just where it's at now.
Yeah. Very cool. Heck yeah. So yeah, definitely, kids, if you're watching this, yes, you can definitely make a career at this. It's not going to come easy, and it's probably not going to, happen overnight. So have a backup plan.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, I got guys can message me on Facebook. It's just Hunter Baird, and then either on Instagram, that's Hunter Baird Fishing. Direct message me, email me, whatever. Just get a hold of me if you have any questions about fishing. I'm glad to help you guys out. And like I said, I'll be back this summer. And so if you guys see me out or whatever, just flag me down. I'm always glad to answer questions.
Yeah, check him out on Instagram. Follow him to see how he does at these last few tournaments to wrap up his collegiate career, and show him some support. So, yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's give away the big softies, okay? So I've got it looks like 6 people entered in for a chance to win the 2-pack of big softies. I'm going to have you do me a favor and pick a number 1 through 6.
Okay, I'm going to go with 4.
Number 4.
Yep.
Number 4 is Mr. Casual Bass Guy, Ivan Diaz. So he's a kayak guy. He is a native Kansan. Has recently relocated to Vermont. So I'll be shipping these out to you. Hit me up, CBG. Appreciate you tuning in tonight and commenting over there. He was trying to make sure that people were aware of the giveaway, and he won it himself. There you go.
Sweet, awesome. Like I said, I'm gonna have to get my hand on a couple of them, because we caught a lot of bass on a mag draft, and I think that's a little bit better than a mag draft. So I need to get me on my hands on a couple of them.
Yeah, and if you guys are looking to do the same, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this back up on the screen. Go over to temptationtackle.com. There's a swim bait tab there, and you will see the Clutch Big Softy. You can get them in a couple different sizes. So go show those guys some love. They're doing a lot for the local fishing community, and definitely want to make sure that we're showing them some support. So, all right. Well, Hunter, did you have anything that you wanted to sign off with tonight? We could probably go for another hour, but we better. I'm not hearing you. I don't know if you guys are hearing him, but I'm not. I don't know. One of you guys in the comment section, let me know if you can hear him. I don't know. I'm assuming you can hear me. Somebody in the comment section, let us know. Can you hear Hunter? Anybody? CBG looks like CBG was excited about his big win here tonight. Let me know. Well, I don't know. There was some crackling. Okay, can't hear him. Okay. Well, that's all right. I'm not sure. There was some crackling going on there at the end, so we might just have some difficulties with the mic. But I think we got a pretty good idea of what it was like for him to fish out there at Lake of the Ozarks. Some really good information for those people who might be looking to take their tournament fishing to the next level, and pretty inspirational story if you ask me, especially being a fellow Kansan myself. But Hunter, I want to thank you for tuning in or for joining us tonight, and look forward to having you back on when you have your next big finish. So, all right, man, have a good one. I'm not sure what you're saying, so we're going to go ahead and sign off. See you, man. All right, guys, there it is. That is episode number 12, season 2, Hunter Baird. And he went out there and he gave it his all at Lake of the Ozarks with a really great finish. And he finished in second place out there. And some cool information, some things that maybe that I took away from it was that he is using the information that he is given. He is taking that information and he is kind of using it on the fly, right? And I think a lot of the times after a day of fishing on the water, especially in a tournament situation where there's stress and there's, money on the line and all these things, you don't process that information the way that you should. And you look back at the end of the day and you're like, man, I wish I would have taken the information that was right in front of my face and I would have used it to my advantage. And I think that's one big thing that time on the water, as Hunter was mentioning, is going to help you with. So that was something really cool. Also, for those of you guys that, maybe don't have an opportunity to venture out as much, maybe make that a point. Make it a point to fish new water, fish new styles of, if you're a muddy water guy, go fish some clean water. If you're a clean water guy, go fish some muddy water. If you're a pond guy, go fish a big lake, right? I mean, just, diversify the styles of fisheries as much as you can. And that is going to definitely translate into you being a better angler. And for those of you that are looking to take your tournament fishing to the next level, those opportunities are there, whether it's a local club fishing, that is definitely a great place to start. If you are getting into high school, you have opportunities there. Just about anywhere you go in the country, you'll have an opportunity to fish at the high school level, and also at the collegiate level as well. You can actually get scholarships, and you can go fish at the collegiate level and have an opportunity to fish these tournaments. Like he was saying, fishing at a place like Drury allows him to fish these tournaments. It sounds like they were paying entry fees for him. So that is something that, is obviously going to help you as a struggling college student as it is. Having somebody help you out with those entry fees is a big deal. So some cool stuff there. Look forward to following Hunter along for the rest of the year and for the rest of his career. And I am proud to say that he is a fellow Kansan. And I want to thank all you guys for tuning in tonight. Let me know if you have a suggestion on who you want to bring on. I definitely want to bring more Kansas guys. We've got a lot of Kansas kayak anglers on this channel in the past, but would love to have some more of the bass boat guys on here as well. So if you have a recommendation, let me know. I would love to bring them on and pick their brains. So guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button for me. We just hit 2,400 subscribers. I think we're going to do a giveaway at 2,500. So probably in the next month or less, we will be doing that giveaway. So make sure you are a subscriber so you can be entered in for the giveaway. And also so you don't miss out on content just like this. We'll try to use these opportunities to learn as much as we can from each other. If you're not able to get out there and fish every day of the week like you want to, you can use conversations, podcasts just like this to maybe use somebody else's perspective next time you're out there on the water. But guys, I want to thank you for tuning in once more. Appreciate you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off. We'll see you on the next one.